Okay, hi everyone, and thanks for joining the Careers Inspiration webinar. If it's your first time today, then this webinar series is designed to introduce you to lots of different people who work in IT. We'll have a chat with them and find out what their jobs are like, and bring to life some of the different choices that are out there for the future. So we'll be speaking to people who've come into technology through all different routes. So today we've got graduates from university, but also apprentices, fast track schemes, and people who do all sorts of different jobs in technology to help you see a range of different viewpoints and options. So today I'm joined by Alice and Claire. They're from BT. They're both on the graduate programme and came through from a similar kind of route, but they're doing different jobs. So we're going to have a chat with them for around 10 minutes or so, and then there'll be time for your questions at the end. No need to wait till the end, though. If a question comes up to your mind at any time, if you hit the orange arrow on the right-hand side of your screen, you should be able to see a place to type in questions there, so you can do that at any time throughout the discussion. So the first thing then I think we need to really understand is a bit about what your jobs are, what's really involved in your roles. So Claire, would you want to go first and just tell us a bit about what you do?
Yeah, so hey, I'm Claire. Yeah, so I do software development at BT. So basically my job kind of involves creating like bespoke software solutions, so like custom made to what the customer brief is basically. So everyone is different, every brief is different. And yeah, so I work full stack, which just means that basically I make the web pages that you see. So I make them look nice and look pretty and stuff, but I also make them work behind the scenes as well. So I do both of those things. Yeah, that's pretty much.
That's awesome, thank you. And Alice?
Hi, I'm Alice. I'm a data analyst. So what we do is sort of take in a large amount of data and information. So it could be open source or it could be something that a customer's given us. And then we run operations on it. So like statistics and maths to sort of gain some insight to hopefully then create like an application, like a custom application at the end. So this might be a dashboard or some sort of ingest and then output at the end. So that's sort of what I do day to day.
That's great, and it would be nice to hear as well from you about some of the different things that you've been working on at the moment. So Claire, how about you?
So currently I'm working on making a web application for like one of our customers. So basically just allows them to like test other applications that they already have. Basically making, like I said, like a user interface that you can look at and type and click on, etc., etc. And yeah, just it gave me kind of the opportunity to like research the new way of the web. So like how when you type something into a search bar, what actually happens behind the scenes. And I got to learn a lot about that. So that's kind of what I'm working on just now. It is in like lots of different languages because front end, so like the actual web page languages are very different to like the back end languages. So like what's going on behind the scenes. So for that, like behind the scenes, I'm using Python, and then for the front end, I'm using Vue, which are like two completely different things. But yeah, it's really interesting. I'm enjoying it.
That's brilliant, thank you. And how about you, Alice?
So I'm currently taking in a lot of data from different sources. So I'm doing that in Python and hopefully automate it. So these like sources of data normally get updated or refreshed or information changes. So you want to be able to ingest the most relevant information continuously. And then we're taking that information, making one massive data frame, and we're looking at the information and sort of doing some statistics on it. So doing like how many times one value occurs for our data, and then hopefully we're going to be able to rank it so we can output like a ranking system saying these are the top 10 bad things, that sort of thing. So, and I'm doing that in Scala and Spark, which is more of a Java-based language. And it's been really difficult. So it's been a lot like Claire and a learning curve at the beginning of a project, and each project that we go on to, it's quite different and you have a lot of research and learning. So that's been quite good, but very challenging at times.
Yeah. And so you mentioned Java and stuff there. You also mentioned the term open source earlier. What does that really mean?
Oh, so open source normally means that it's for anyone to find, or like anyone can download or take or have a look at that data. So say there's companies like MaxMind, for example, get information about IP addresses. So where like a web page is listed or hosted on, and then you can go in and have a look at that data, so you can find out where this IP address is located for free.
Okay. That's great, thank you. And we're interested to hear from both of you how you kind of got into technology. So was it something you always wanted to do, or something that you realized you wanted to do at some point? And do you have a background or qualifications in technology? It'd be really interesting to hear about that. So Alice, how about if you go first this time?
So I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I really enjoyed maths, so that's where I decided to go and like do my degree in mathematics. My degree course was very, very pure maths, so it was doing a lot of analytics, like writing in a textbook and watching lecturers write on a whiteboard. It wasn't very technical, and some of the languages I did use, like MATLAB and SAS, aren't really used in wider business, or definitely not in BT. And it was quite maths based, so it was literally writing those functions to do like analytics and math, so I thought, oh, I don't know if I can get into technology, but I knew I didn't want to do finance at that time or really teaching. So I sort of looked for roles that offered something a bit different, and a lot of those roles were tech roles. And it was me being able to take my skills that I'd learned from maths and apply them to that tech role that allowed me to get into like the job I am in now, and sort of just being able to learn and develop as I go. That's how I got here.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting, thank you. And how about you, Claire?
I'm kind of from a similar background as well. I did maths, and yeah, like when I started uni, I didn't realize how much sort of computing and stuff that actually like maths does involve. So I did at uni a little bit of like Python, so what I'm using now, but it was nowhere near the same kind of thing. It was like Alice said, like all math based. So it was just, it's like now I'm using it in a completely different way. But yeah, like when I started using Python at uni, I kind of decided, oh, I quite like this. This is maybe something I want to do. And then when I went into my master's year, I kind of decided, oh, I'd quite like a job as a software developer, being able to like do this full time, and then obviously get paid for it. It's quite nice, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, not
that's
from a
great.
technical background, but
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you've both kind of done the maths background, but come into the same company, but in completely different roles. So it just shows
yeah.
you the different kind of variety that you can use with the same background. So you both ended up working in technology, and maybe didn't always mean to. So now that you're here, what kind of excites you about your job? What do you really enjoy about it? Claire, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so I think especially coming in, so we're on a grad scheme, they kind of understand that you're not quite so experienced and stuff in the industry. So there is like the training there for you. And so it means like that we get to learn all these new technologies. Like Alice was saying, like at the start of a project, you might not necessarily know, like I didn't know Vue, which is what I'm building the web page in, at all. Like I'd never even seen it written or anything like that. And now I've built an entire web page in it, which is crazy. But yeah, it's just that kind of thing, like seeing your progression from the start of a project to like the end of a project and what you've learned, and then what you can go on to apply to like future projects. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's great. Kind of taking that learning and
Mm.
then thinking about where else you could apply it. That's really great. And how about you, Alice?
I think, like Claire said, it being a grad scheme, one really exciting bit about it was moving somewhere different. That was a choice for me to go somewhere new and meet loads of new people, which was like quite an exciting time when you've been at uni, especially for 3 years. You've been with the same sort of people and doing the same sort of thing, and you get like pushed into this environment with lots of different people of all sorts of ages from different backgrounds. So you have people who did computer science or different sorts of science sciences like physics. So it was really interesting meeting all these new people and making new friends. And then, like Claire said, with the going on to new projects, when you have that steep learning curve, because I did quite like doing that sort of research and learning with my degree, it's been like quite good to be able to learn something and then be able to apply it within the same project, so you really feel like you've used the information that you found.
Yeah, that sounds really, really rewarding. It sounds really great. And you both normally work from an office. So what would a typical sort of day in the office look like for you? Alice, do you want to tell us about that first?
Yeah, so we have flexible working hours, so we sort of have to be in between 9 and 4, but you can be like a little bit earlier and finish earlier, and start a little bit later and finish later. So it's very typical 9 to 5 sort of life. We have a nice little kitchen area, which we normally meet other grads in and have a nice cup of tea and a chat in the morning. And we're quite social in our office. So we had like a little bake off when we were there before, which was really nice. So it sort of breaks up your working day with some like social events and a bit of cake, which is always good. Maybe not for the waistline, but for everything else. And then, yeah, so just be typical sort of meetings and just getting on with your own work at your own desk as well as interacting with people. So, yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Claire? What, have you got anything to add to that?
Yeah, it's kind of similar, but like because we're in different teams, obviously like meetings and things are like slightly different times. So like for my team, I generally like 10 o'clock every day have a stand up, which is basically like a 10-minute meeting to say what you've done in the past day and like what you're planning on doing today, kind of thing, just to keep everybody updated. But yeah, that's quite common, I think, throughout like all of the teams that I work with. Yeah.
Yeah, excellent. And the flexible working sounds really nice as well, because it gives you quite a nice sort of work-life balance, and you get to kind of make your own sort of timetable, if you like. What kind of interests do you have outside of work, Alice?
So I'm a little bit of a granny and quite like sewing and knitting and things like that. And I just moved, so I just made my own curtains, which is definitely something a little bit different. But I know quite a lot of people at work go home and do more coding, which is actually quite interesting. Like, I think it would be fun to be able to do some of that at home as well. Like, you know, someone's trying to create an automated system for playing poker, which was quite interesting.
Nice. And how about you, Claire?
Yeah, I kind of like I do a bit of cooking now, especially because we're in lockdown. I've been doing more baking. Made a cheesecake the other day.
Nice.
But yeah, I also play a few like video games and stuff. I got a Nintendo Switch just to live
Have you
through
been playing
lockdown.
Animal Crossing?
Yeah,
Like, yeah.
it's been
Yeah,
quite fun.
yeah, that's awesome. Cool. And now moving on to any sort of tips you might have for people who are interested in following in your footsteps, whether that means working in a similar role in sort of like web or data or just technology more generally. Claire, do you want to go first?
Yeah, so like for me especially, like I said, I kind of only did any programming that was associated with like maths in my degree. So like decided kind of just towards the end of uni that I wanted to like find out about like what's out there and what other languages I could learn. So like Code Academy is like what I used for that, and it's really good. And there's loads of like similar sort of free courses or like free sort of interactive learning like tools out there basically. I would recommend doing that. And then for if you really kind of don't know where to begin with like coding, Scratch is really good. It's kind of designed for kids. You can like drag and drop pieces of code to make little mini games. It's quite fun. There's stuff like that. Just kind of make like really basic things to begin with, and then just kind of find something that you enjoy and do it. And then when you get more advanced, you could follow like I say like online tutorials. There's hundreds, if not thousands, out there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of schools do use Scratch as well. So you mentioned Code Academy. So we'll put the link for that in the email that will follow up for everyone watching now. You'll get a link to that tomorrow in the email. So that's awesome. That's a good tip. And how about you, Alice? What would you say?
Yeah, like Claire, there are a lot of really good free resources online, like YouTube as well, if you do get a bit further on and want to see something specific. And I know we both use Stack Overflow a lot to find answers to things. Is really, really helpful just seeing how other people have done it and that sort of community in there. I just say, like, don't think that you have to go down a particular path. Like me and Claire, you can do maths and do both and get into data and technology. Like you don't have to siphon yourself into that one bit. And I think it's just finding those opportunities to help you learn. So whether that's talking to a teacher to find useful resources, or if there's an opportunity like maybe some coursework that could help you learn a bit more programming, like maybe try that. But just always, I know this is a bit cringy, but try and be yourself, like when you present yourself across, and you'll get there.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Thank you. And so coming on to the questions from the audience, one person's mentioned, obviously you've both done maths at degree level, but I guess what we could ask is sort of how important maths is for technology, and also how important a qualification in maths is for technology. So the question from the audience is whether further maths is useful for a career in technology, or whether A-level maths would be enough. So I guess just about how kind of important that maths side is, because obviously you've both come through there, but a lot of people don't, I think.
Yeah, I think like especially in our industry, like Alice said before, there is a lot of computer science graduates, people who did computer science at school, or like did it really sort of religiously as a hobby. But then there's a guy in our office. He came from like a biology background, which isn't so maths based. I don't think maths is a requirement. A-level maths is probably enough if you don't want to do it as a degree. But yeah, just as long as you have a sort of like demonstrable skill with like programming, or just like going out of your way to like learn stuff, and like you can show that you really enjoy doing it, or like data science even, for example, if you enjoy that, then that's what they want to see more than like actual skills when you do like interviews and things. Like they'd rather you show like a passion for what you're going to do, and then it shows you're going to be a hard worker and you're going to be useful to the company. So
yeah, that's right. And I think, problem solving and logical thinking and a lot of those things are really important, perhaps at the early stage, over and above actual specific technical skills.
yeah,
What do you
exactly.
think, Alice?
I think especially if you're looking at assessment centres and when you're applying for jobs, the normal like numerical tests that sometimes you have to do for these jobs are more basic maths and logical thinking, so percentages and ratios. And then in the assessment centres, mine was more of a problem solving and like logical thinking rather than applying actual maths. And I think Claire had more like program, that you actually had to do like little programs, didn't you? So I don't think
it was. Yeah, you kind of could have done it though if you hadn't ever like programmed, or like you'd kind of programmed basically, but not actually learned like a concrete language. It was kind of, these are the steps basically. They just wanted you to write the steps, and like that's quite frequent, I think, and especially like coding interviews. You don't have to know the specific language that they're looking for, as long as you kind of, like you said, have the sort of problem solving and logical skills. That's what matters.
That's great. And another question, I think probably more towards you, Claire. You mentioned before that you work with a lot of different programming languages and stuff. Is it confusing to like go between them and work with lots of different languages on the same project?
Yeah, I was just talking to my project manager today, and I was saying I'd made this little mistake in Python. Basically, I added a semicolon to the end of a line, which you don't do in Python, but you do in the front end language view that I was using. And yeah, so it sort of broke things, but I didn't realize it because I'd been using Vue for so long that changing over it was a bit like I still had to kind of readjust myself. But like that's fine. You do like peer reviews and your like manager and stuff will look at your code, so it's not like you write it and then just hope for the best kind of thing. Like it's thoroughly reviewed, and it's common for people to make mistakes, and they know that you're just learning as well. So
yeah, definitely. And how do you think your career will progress after the graduate scheme? Like where would you like to go in the future? Do you have any specific sort of things you'd like to work on, or any particular jobs you might like to do in the future? Alice, do you want to go first?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think it's quite hard being on the first year of the grad scheme to think that far ahead. I think it's always been like to the end of uni, to the end of the grad scheme sort of thing. But I think I would really like to get my programming skills further, especially be able to like program a lot better in Scala and Python and not get confused between the two, because I always do that, like Claire said. I think I would quite like to take on some more management style skills and responsibilities as I sort of progress, but I don't really see an end goal just yet. Sort of as I go along, see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. And how about you, Claire?
I'm kind of similar in that like I don't have a like vision for what I want to do, but I think definitely, like Alice said, just improve my programming skills, and then obviously like as a software developer have that sort of portfolio of like products or like applications and things that I've developed that I can say, look, here's what I did, kind of. Yeah, I think it's totally fine. I think just to not fully know what you want to do, but I think it's quite common. Clearly.
Yeah, definitely. And the last one, just because of time, for both of you, is what are some of the challenges that you face in your current role? Alice, do you want to go first?
I think, like we said, that when you join a project, you might not know a lot about the language or where it's going to go or how it's going to sort of look at the end. So that can be quite daunting, sort of thinking, oh, I don't know that, or I don't feel smart enough, those sort of like feelings of doubt, especially at the beginning. And it's sort of overcoming that and realizing, like Claire said, you look at it from the beginning and you don't think you can do it. And now you've got a front end product, you've actually created it. So it's sort of being able to ride that wave and not let your own like self-doubts like take over, if that makes sense, to sort of like be confident and think I can do this and it is going to happen, and not get too stressed. I find that my biggest challenge at the moment is just thinking I'm a grad, I know I don't know everything, but I'm going to have the opportunity to learn more and then use that knowledge.
Yeah, definitely. And how about you, Claire?
Yeah, I'd kind of like reiterate what Alice said, that yeah, just sort of cutting yourself a bit slack and just being like, it's okay that I don't know this, it's okay that I've made like a little mistake, everyone's gonna do it at some point. And I think just like our job is, I didn't realize this until I actually started the job, but like it's just a lot of Googling things. A lot of the time it is like, oh, I don't know this, well, I should Google it, find it. Like Alice said, use a lot of like Stack Overflow. So yeah, if you don't know the answer, someone else out there knows the answer. So
yeah, absolutely. That's great. Thank you so much for joining us. And so everyone who's watched today, you'll get an email tomorrow, and we'll link you to some of the tools that we mentioned in the discussion today. So Codecademy, Stack Overflow, we'll send the links out for them. Next week's half term, so we're going to take a break next week, and we'll be back on the 4th of June. Yeah, back on the 4th of June, and we'll be speaking to Amber, who works at Google. So she'll be telling us all about what it's like to work at Google and some of the cool projects and innovations that she gets to work on. So hopefully you'll join us then. I'll send the joining link out to you as well, so you'll get that tomorrow. But have a good half term, everyone. And thanks very much to Alice and Claire for joining us.
Thanks.
See you later. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you.